So good morning. Thank you all for coming out for the Parents Informational Workshop. We also will be having a guest from two guests from Cabrini Green Legal Aid. For our agenda today is going to be Alternative Inc. staff introductions as well as Cabrini Green. I'm going to do an agency overview. I'm going to talk about the Behavioral Health Department. I have someone from the Restorative Justice Department who's going to speak out about the Restorative Justice Department. I'm going to speak on the behalf of the Crisis Intervention Department. Cabrini Green Legal Aid is going to do a 1-hour presentation. Then the next slide, we're going to talk about like the parents' needs and things that's we see like that's a need for the parents that we're working with and families that we're working with. And then we'll just have some closing remarks and questions at the end. So if we want to all just introduce ourselves, I can go first. My name is Davin Crump. I work for Alternative Inc. I am with the crisis team. I'm a crisis coordinator, and I'm gonna pass it along.
Hi, my name is Taronica Boone. I am the Special Project Coordinator at Alternatives Inc.
My name is Sandra Hall. I like to be called Sandy, and I'm a part of the Cabrini Green Legal Aid presentation today. I coordinate the reunification ride with Cabrini Green Legal Aid that allows a monthly opportunity for Chicago area caregivers to visit their loved ones at Logan Correctional Center.
Hey everyone, I'm John Ming Xie. I'm also with Sandy at Cabrini Green Legal Aid. I am a family law attorney there specializing in issues around DCFS. So our part of the presentation will be Sandy and me talking about the Department of Children and Family Services, what their mission is, and also parental rights if they're being involved with DCFS. So nice to meet everyone, and I'm excited to share this webinar with y'all today.
Hello, everyone. My name is Miguel Rodriguez. I'm with Alternatives, and I am the Restorative Justice Manager.
So I'm going to provide just an introduction to Alternative Inc. and also talk about our mission statement. So Alternative Inc. supports and empowers Chicago youth to build safer and more vibrant communities through a combination of youth development programs, behavioral health services. Alternative is also a comprehensive multicultural youth development organization that operates as a support system for more than 3,000 youth, more than 3,000 of Chicago young people and their family each year. Our mission is to facilitate personal development, strengthen family relationships, enhance community well-being. Alternative programs and services use as an asset-based model that focuses on enriching young people's lives by building upon individual strength within the context of their family and community. We provide comprehensive and accessible programs that increases young people opportunities to succeed and grow as individuals and community members. We have 2 locations. Our Uptown location is our address for the Uptown location is 4730 North Sheraton. And that's usually our main building. We also share that with Circus Team. Then we have a South Side location, which is in Washington Park. And that's our address for that location is 241 East 57th Street. And we also share that building with Good Shepherd Church. And program and services. So I'll just speak briefly about the programs, and then we also will have a little presentation that speaks further about each program. So we have the behavioral health services, which is pair licensed professionals with young people and their families to learn new skills and address issues such as conflict, depression, and substance abuse through therapy intervention, outpatient substance abuse, juvenile justice diversion. We provide 24-hour crisis intervention support to homeless, runaway, and lockout youth. We have our prevention programs. It's a youth-led prevention programs through which students create dialogue among their peers about their risk, attitudes, behaviors, and root causes related to alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs. We have the Crisis Intervention Department. Serves abuse and neglect youth experiencing homelessness due to extreme family conflict and dysfunctional, receives intensive behavior services beginning with most pressing issues of health and safety, shelter, and care. Our crisis workers are available to respond to emergency family situations 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. We have the Restorative Justice, which empowers young people and adults to become co-leaders in the process of healing in the community buildings. Moving along is a continuum of healing and growing and thriving. Through training, leadership development, and capacity building, we support schools and organizations in developing more restorative culture. We have our Girl World and Maverick programs, which provide gender-specific programming through a range of projects that build skills young people need to make healthy decisions. Overcome challenges and achieve goals. Project commonly involve participatory actions. Research focuses on issues more present to participants. And then we have our career and employment services. Works with youth by offering summer job placement, workforce preparation, workshops, and intensive skill development. I'm going to speak on behalf of the Behavioral Health Services Department at Alternative Inc. So who are we? A team of 12 trained therapists, 8 clinical licensed therapists, 4 licensed therapists, and we also include interns and externs during the school year. Therapists range in experience from psychiatrists to counselors to social workers. What we do. We work with young people and their families to overcome challenges and improve functioning. We provide substance use treatment. So we use the Atlas and community reinforcement approach, evidence-based substance abuse treatment practice. Allow therapists to address clients' individual needs through encouragement of pro-social behavior, analyze of substance use, training in communication, a problem scale, and caregiver-adolescent relationship and improvement. Eligibility services includes ages 10 to 24 and living within our catch area. Once we get to the crisis slide, I will talk more about our catchment area and what areas that we provide services to. We use a strength-based approach. We encourage youth to build on and identify their positive attributes. We also provide psychiatry services for open and active clients. Where do we provide services? So as I mentioned before, we have 2 locations. We have our Uptown, which is the north side, and then we have the Washington Park location. So we provide services, outpatient services there. We also work with, partner with a lot of health centers, which is Roosevelt High School, Sin High School, Uplift, and also psychiatric services offered at school-based health centers. We work with a few social service agencies as well, which is Ignite, Belfer House, Lawrence Hall, and UCAN. And then the schools that we, a lot of our therapists are assigned to individual schools, and the schools that we have therapists assigned to are Lakeview High School, Northside College Prep, Sylvian High School, Mollison, Tilden High School, Andrew Cardigan School, Ellicott College Prep, and Gary Comer College Prep, and Gary Comer Youth Centers. When are services available? So counseling services are available Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. and Fridays, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Counseling services at Washington Park locations are Monday through Friday 9 to 5 p.m. Counseling at schools and school-based health centers are Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. How to receive services. You can call our main line and you can do like a screening. The number for that line is 773-506-7474. And if you call that phone, someone will be able to complete a screening with you over the phone. The screening form includes questions of the demographic, referral source, reason for referral, short suicide, and homicide assessments. And then after the screening, you will be notified if the youth qualify for our services. If not, we'll provide other agencies that will be able to work with the youth. You'll also be notified of a time frame in which the therapist will call back for an intake session. During COVID-19, for the time being, our offices are closed, but we are providing telehealth services currently to open and active clients. We're doing this by video and phone sessions. Based on our contracts, we are evaluating how to continue to counsel services for new clients. If you would like more information on counseling services, please leave your name and contact to me, which is Davin Crump. He will direct information to someone in the behavioral health department, and someone will contact you as soon as possible. And thank you. And then these are the two supervisors for our team, which is Michelle and Chris. And you can contact them if you want more information on the behavioral health services.
Devin, this is Sandy. Can I ask a question before we
Yes.
move on? You had talked about how people can call in and there's a screening process in terms of being identified as eligible for your program. What might be an example of somebody that's not deemed eligible?
So if they're not deemed eligible, that's when I will get involved. And they might be eligible for our crisis intervention program, which will also help them get therapy, get free counseling. In order to get eligible for our crisis intervention, I'll talk more about that, but they'll have to be medium to high risk. And if they get accepted to one of our crisis intervention programs, then they'll be eligible to still get free counseling. Now, if they're not, then we have a list of other agencies that we partner with that they will be able to refer them to different organizations.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, no problem. And I'm going to pass it on to Miguel, and he's going to speak more about the restorative justice.
Hello. So, hi. Well, how should we do this? I just asked for the next slide. There you go. Perfect. So yeah, we at Alternatives have a restorative justice team. We're a team of about 20 different people, and we've been doing restorative justice since the 90s when zero tolerance was rolling out. And so we really saw a need for restorative justice in schools. One of the ways that we got started was at Senn High School. Young people in the 90s were seeing their peers getting suspended left and right. And they saw that when their peers came back, the issues were still there with the teacher, or the issue was still there with their friends. And so they thought about getting more involved in the disciplinary process. And there, with the help of an alternative staff, they started to look at what youth-led restorative justice can look like, and what does it look like for young people to hold each other accountable. So that's a little bit of the background about how we got started. What is restorative justice? So restorative justice is both a philosophy and a set of practices that addresses harm and how to repair it. It's a holistic response that focuses on healing for both those who have been harmed, those who have caused harm, and the community. So another way to look at what restorative justice is and what it's not is at this right here. If you look at the bottom, you have supports. So on the left, you have little supports, and then all the way to the right, you have increased supports. Yes. Over here, you have on the y-axis expectations, and over here you would have low. At the bottom, low expectations, and up top, high expectations. So when we're thinking about low supports and low expectations, we would call that neglectful. You're not doing anything. When you have lowered your expectations but increase your supports, we would call that enabling or permissive. You're doing things for people. And then increasing the expectations, but not adding the supports. So low supports, high expectations. We would say that's punitive, authoritative. You're doing things to people. And so what we're aiming for and what we're saying restorative is it's that sweet spot of high expectations, high supports, the restorative approach, doing things with people. Any questions about that so far? Great, thank you. So we have two different wings to the restorative justice team at Alternatives. We have the school-based wing and we have the community wing. And then in the middle, you have our training component. So with the community wing, we're working with, we have our Peace Ambassador program. So we are working with young people and young adults that were punished by the institutions that they were in, and we're coaching them up and building their capacity to use restorative justice practices, and for them to actually take the lead on what restorative justice can look like in different institutions. So what can it look like in schools? What can it look like in homeless youth service providers? What can it look like in other community organizations? With our Peace Ambassador program, we're mostly training up young people that have experienced homelessness. Our training, I'll go into the school-based component and then the training. Our school-based wing, we have 5 coaches working with schools to build up the capacity of principals, deans, teachers, counselors to implement restorative practices in their schools. So we're in there for a semester at each school. We're in 20+ schools throughout the school year. And the intention there is to build the capacity of the school to use restorative practices so that when the coach is gone, folks can still keep implementing those conflict resolution practices and those community building practices. On the training side, we have our Hope, our training coordinator, that's coordinating trainings for citywide trainings for teachers and staff and CPS, but we're also setting up trainings to do with community organizations and even other school districts. So these are some trainings that would be relevant. This is Introduction to the Restorative Practices. They're usually an hour, all these trainings. So we have an Introduction to Restorative Practices, Restorative Communication, and Restorative Conversations. I'll go over what those are in a little bit. Right now, during this time, we've cut down our trainings to be more or less around an hour because we're adapting them to virtual, and we know that folks, it's hard for them to sit through more than 1 hour of virtual trainings. Usually they're whole day trainings or half day trainings. And they're very interactive, so it's not like you're sitting there through a PowerPoint for the whole 6 hours. It's really practice-based and discussion-based. But again, these virtual trainings have now been adapted to just be around an hour. So Introduction to RP, to Restorative Practices is just that, just a brief overview of the restorative justice philosophy and the practices. Restorative Communication goes over the foundation of all the restorative practices. So we're taking a look at the way that you speak and the way that you're listening and the impact of how you go about those things. With Restorative Conversations, it's a semi-structured way to have a conversation that's dealing with conflict. So this could be a teacher and a student dealing with conflict. A student isn't paying attention, isn't doing their work, and so now you have to hold them to account for what's going on. And so you're having a conversation where you hold them to account, but you also don't damage the relationship. You can maintain that relationship. If you're a parent at home and you're like, I can't get my kid to clean their room. If I tell them to clean their room, they curse me out, like those kinds of things. How to have those restorative conversations, again, to hold people to account, but not damage the relationship, still be able to maintain that relationship. And then we have all these other trainings that we also offer. Again, intro to RJ, restorative communication, restorative conversations. We have talking circles. These are circles to build community, to explore a topic. This is outside of any kind of conflict. You can think about if you're having dinner with your family and folks are going around sharing how their day was, that's a form of a talking circle. Our trainings go more into the ceremonial aspect of circle, how to do an opening and a closing, and how to facilitate a circle in which everyone gets heard. And then peace circles, very same structure as a talking circle, except now you're dealing with the conflict. You're trying to come to peace with something. And then circles of support is when there's a member or a few members of the community that really need a lot of support. And so how does the community then come around, look at their skills and assets to support this member in the community? And then peer conference is essentially we're working with schools and mainly directly with students to build up their capacity to have restorative conversations with other students and hold each other to account for what they're expected to do in schools. If you would like to schedule a training for a specific group for a school that you know, or for a community organization that you know, reach out to our training coordinator, Hope Lassen. The email is there, hlasson@alternativesyouth.org. We're also planning on scheduling some virtual trainings that the community can just come to. So also if you wanna stay up to date to when those virtual trainings will happen, again, email Hope Lassen and we will keep you updated on those things.
Question, Miguel?
Yes.
This is Sandy from Cabrini Green Legal Aid. I had a question. You talked about doing RJ in the schools, in several schools currently, is that correct?
Correct.
And you said the time frame that you are going to try to build capacity is 1 semester per school?
1 semester per school. There are times when we can have conversations with the district, the school, and reassess whether we should stay there another semester or not. And at the same time, we're trying to see, we have 5 coaches for 500 schools. So there's a lot of need out there. And so we're trying to be really strategic with putting our resources where the need is at, but also making impactful work that's actually going to be sustainable.
Well, I was asking because I was just wondering how long you guys been doing that, and have you found that 1 semester to really be meaningful and make an impact in terms of making a school restorative?
Yeah, we definitely are advocating for more time at each school, more than just a semester. And different schools need different times. There's some schools that are like, we just need a semester and we're good for it. And then there are schools where it's like, this is a 3-year plan.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and so let me ask you just one other last quick question. You talked about that you guys work with the principal on down. Is that true?
Yeah, again, that's some schools were able to have weekly meetings with principals. Other schools, we might not see the principal for the whole school, for the whole semester.
Okay, and has that been helpful in terms of making that an RJ community, a true RJ community, if the principal is not involved?
Oh yeah, it's a tremendous help when the principal is already on board. I mean,
yeah.
That thing of like, if your boss is advocating for this, it makes our job a lot easier. Like, wait, hold on, my boss tells me I can't be doing this. That makes it so much harder.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I get a chance to meet some of your ambassadors at the monthly circle meeting for circle keepers at Precious Blood.
Oh, great.
And they come in troops.
Yeah, for sure. It's a whole party.
So thank you.
For sure, thank you. I'm glad.
Thank you, Miguel.
In preparation for summer, Alternatives will be hosting 2 summer programs, Alternatives Inc. Summer Camp at our Uptown office. 4730 North Sheridan Road is open to ages 10 to 13. The dates are June 22nd to August 21st, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And you can register at this Google form link below. And then we also work with One Summer Chicago that is hosted by the Department of Family and Social Services. We work with the age groups of 14 to 24 years of age. The one requirement for you to participate in One Summer Chicago is that they have to be Chicago residents. I will be hosting a webinar March 31st on how to successfully complete the One Summer Chicago application and then going over the youth qualifications. And the webinar will be posted to our social media sites as well. If you want to go ahead and start completing the One Summer Chicago application, you'll just go to www.onesummerchicago.org.
And this is Davin again, and I'm gonna talk about the Crisis Intervention Program. So crisis intervention, what is the crisis program? So the crisis program serves youth from ages 11 to 17 that are at risk of involvement in child welfare or the juvenile justice system, with the overarching goal of family unification or stabilization and helping them access needed in the community, prevention, diversion, emergency, independent living services. The requirements for the crisis program is youth have to be in the ages between 11 to 17. Youth who are homeless due to being a runaway, lockout, or beyond the control of their guardian will fit this requirement. We can get referrals from a call from the youth guardian, the schools. We can get calls from the hospitals, police stations, detention centers, family and friends, and etc. The only downfall about this program, a youth cannot be a DCFS ward to qualify this program, to be qualified in this program. Discretionary youth. So we have the original slide was talking about the crisis youth. So discretionary youth is a youth that's not necessarily in the crisis, but they're at risk of being in the crisis. So they might be at risk of being homeless. They might be at risk of being a runaway. They might be at risk of being beyond control of their parent. They might show delinquency behavior, but not involved in the juvenile justice system quite yet. But we want to prevent that. So it's more of a preventative services that we offer. The requirements are is very similar. Youth have to be 11 to 17. Youth who are at risk of being homeless or locked out. Youth who are at risk of becoming delinquent, and youth cannot be a DCFS ward. And also we work with youth as well, just based on just based on where they live. So I know the South Side of Chicago has a bad rep. So a lot of our youth qualify for our programs just in the South Side of Chicago. So going back to what Sandra was saying, asking me about if youth are not eligible for the therapy services, there's ways that we can still get them qualified based on becoming a discretionary youth. Services offered during COVID-19. So we still gonna do our 24/7 crisis response. I also provided that phone number to the runaway hotline, which is 1-877-870-2663. During the crisis response, our job is to go out, respond to a crisis within 90 minutes. Once we meet the location where the crisis is happening, our job is to reunify the families. Now, if that's not a possibility at the time of the crisis response, then we try to see if there's a family that the youth can go to for a while. If that's not an option, then we work with a few of our shelters to see if our shelters can have an open bed to place the youth. This to stabilize them until we can start working with the youth and the family to reunify both of them. That's during our 24/7 crisis response. After the response, we start our case management. So we provide resources for both the family and the young person. And usually during this time, we offer like mentorship. But right now, since we can't meet in person, we're just going to do like a lot of online and via phone, and just still serve as positive role models, still provide resources to the families that don't have the abilities to, or that have the abilities and capabilities to get their needs required. We will still offer therapy, so our BH department will still be engaging in telemental health services. The software will be HIPAA compliant, so we will be offering therapy as well. And then we also will be doing training and webinars. So some of the RJ coaches will be conducting trainings for the young people, and we will just also have webinars, and we'll probably do that as much as possible as we can. And going back to our catchment area, so everything that's in the blue, so all this area, these are all the neighborhoods that we serve at Alternative Inc. And that's a brief overview. Let me go back. That's a brief overview of the crisis team. Do you have any questions or any clarifications of information that you want to know? Okay.
Thank you, Devin.
Oh, no problem. So I'm gonna stop the recording, and then I'm gonna pass it over to Cabrini Green, and then they're gonna continue to record part 2. So part 1 is over. So
So you